got Luffy ambition, king of the rappers.
Hey, what's going on, gang? It's Murata Music with 3-piece TCG, big TCG, and 2D. Everybody's doing it. I just want to be popular. I'm talking about that banned list video. So smash that like button, finger pop that subscribe, turn on the bell, and go down in the comments. Let me know, what do you think's getting ban listed, and what do you think's being restricted, or what do you think is coming back? In the comments below. Would love to hear what you got to say. Okay, so I was meaning to put this video, I mentioned it in one of my last green purple Luffy videos, but that was the one that I told you guys I recorded, and then like it got destroyed or whatever, my computer fucked up, so I had to re-record it. And then since then, dude, like I got off a 38-hour shift because they called me in, and was busy AF. And then yesterday I got my 2 steroid injections, so I just felt like chilling. But I know what you're looking at right here. But last night, ugly as hell, I could have put this out way earlier, but a mere 10 hours ago, I said, all right, gang, I want to get an idea of where y'all at. Who do you think is getting banned, restricted next month? Okay, we got Dofi and Company, Gecko Mario, Giant, Purple Can't Have Nice Things, and Don't Let Green Purple Ever Exist in the West. So a resounding Dofi and Company from the crowd, and hey, that's me and Snowman Luffy. Anyhow, let's see. So in the comments, we got my man, hey, Jay, talking about it's too late to hit Gecko. There's a reason they only hit stage when Lucci was dominant. And they also got, it's got to be blue cards, but not Dofi outright. Probably Bounce Law, or maybe Jinbei 2 calls Teach. Couldn't get those words out. And I agree. Like I told them, I don't like banning leaders before tweaking either their kit, and what I mean by their kit is the cards in their deck, or maybe something to their leader ability, but definitely not like what they did with the Sakazuki, not what they did with the Law. I feel like with Sakazuki, they should have, let me go ahead and pull them up for you guys, oh, well, y'all ain't gonna be able to see him anyways. Not like this, it's too small. Yeah, anyway, so Sakazuki, you know what, I'll just pull it up. Pull it up right here, yeah. So anyways, the thing about Sakazuki was once per turn you may trash a card from your hand. Basically, you got a free cycle, and then when attacking, give up to one of your opponents a -1 cost. What I think they should have done first, and even if this wouldn't have done anything, I still think what they should have done first was made this a choose one like they did Perona. I think doing that, yes, the leader is still more than viable and still may continue to top, but you're not being negligent in what you can do, right? So in my opinion, okay, so this leader's dominating, let's change this about him and then see what he does. And then if he's still fucking big city hooping, okay, then let's take one of these abilities away. Maybe we take away the when attacking, and then you can just cycle, you know what I mean? Something like that. Whichever one they felt like was the most pressing of all of them. Same thing with, let's see, with Law. I think with Law they could have done better. They could have, where's he at? And this is One Piece or Optcg.gg. GGGGG. Is it just right under my nose and I'm not finding it? Yeah, here we go. Once per turn, -3 Dawn. Place up to one of your opponent's characters with 3,000 power or less at the bottom of the owner's deck. Play up to one character with a cost of 4 or less from your hand. I don't know. All of that is kind of intrinsically like woven into one another. But I guess you could have, changed the power or less. You know what I mean? Maybe you could have removed that and you just play a card from 4 or less from your hand. You know what I mean? What I'm saying is there's steps you can take before you completely ban a leader. And that's what I hope they do with Doflamingo. Even though, like, Dofi's a big offender, and we have the tier list is basically reflecting that. I'll go into that. But Dofi's a big offender. And there's a lot going on with his kit. There's a lot of people like at locals, and just people I talk to in general. They're either complaining about Jinbei, or they're complaining about Law, which Law the thing about law, everybody's always talking about, you know, getting rid of law or restricting law, etc. The thing about law is, while law does like completely sap some decks, mainly like ramp decks who are trying to keep their Zoro Joro out there, or it'll bounce back blockers. You know, it'll do some cards, right? But the thing about law is that's like a little spice. That's like a spice to the deck. I'm not saying that you should not play that card. I'm not saying it's a flex spot. It's definitely part of the thing. But the real meat and potatoes of the Dofi deck, in my opinion, comes from Jinbei. And I would almost argue that it comes from Two Calls Teach as much, if not more, than Law. So, you know what I mean? And that's just in my experience. So, in my experience playing Dofi, if I don't see a Law, you know, like I'm not losing my mind. I still got Jinbei. I still got fucking every other 4 cost, you know, and Boa Hancock. I still got 2 cost Teach, you know what I'm saying? And Josu will bounce back a 6 or less as well. So I mean, like, it sucks when you don't see that, but if you lose a game with Dofi, you're almost never blaming, oh, it's because I didn't see any laws. It's usually I didn't see any Jinbeis. It's usually I didn't see combo pieces, and I didn't get to set up my deck. And that's what 2 Cost Teach does. That's what Perona does. That's what Jinbei does. That's what Boa does. And Law, he just shows up to fuck shit up. Like, he just shows up to bounce, put a Perona, put a 2K back in your hand, and then, you know, bounce somebody back. You know, that kind of deal. So, I don't know if limiting Law to 1 is going to do anything. I feel like what would happen if we look at a list for Dofi, I feel like what would happen is they would just I feel like they would just go down. Well, this list is already playing for Gecko Morias. But yeah, I mean, if you restricted Law to 1, oh, this is a pretty, like, they're just running 4 of everything. Yeah. But you might see another the other Croc come into play. You know, you just might see just another 4K just fill the slot, and they're gonna keep it moving. You know what I mean? I don't feel like that would be something. Now, if you restricted Jinbei to 1, ooh, damn, then you'd really be on some things right there. Then it'd be a little too interesting. Let's see. This got second place in a 9-2. And yeah, you know what I mean? Did that last list even play puddings? Because yeah, you probably just, I don't know. You know what I mean? It I can totally see it. It's a 4 for 5. It's playable off of Jinbei, but I just, me personally, and you know, that's my personal opinion. So Gecko Mario, getting into the Gecko Deckno. For that, I would say, let's go ahead and go over to this tier list real quick. Okay, so we have best dick in format. We got always a bridesmaid, never a bride. We got they won with what, and we got cope heads. Now, Gecko in and of himself, I have in the cope head. I do not believe that Gecko is a cuck tier. Absolutely not. But I know that everybody else is using their own character better than they are right now. Because Gecko, at best, is a leader that is getting rid of 1 character at a time. And we're getting rid of 2 characters here at a time. And it's that we're not that we're getting more than 1 character at a time with Smoker. However, with the Navy package and everything else, Smoker just tends to utilize Gecko, Morio, the fucking 8 cost card better than they do. And the package that they come with is just more impressive, okay? So the thing about it is, to explain this deck list or explain this tier list real quick, because I know you're thinking, isn't this supposed to be like this? I'm kind of going off of what the East is showing me, because the East right now, let's face it, gang, that's what they're gonna base their ban list off of. You know, these days there was a time when the East had cards available. They had cards available to them that we did not have available to us, because they were just like, oh, you Westerners are kids, we can't let you play with these toys, right? But the thing is that, so if we put in starter deck Luffy, right, and we put in Lucci, Boat Scoot Lucci, okay, this is the top 3. Before this, it was 30 entries for Law, or excuse me, for Dofi. And yeah, so we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 9 for Lucci. 1, 2, 3 for fucking for Luffy. So maybe less than 32. I don't know. Anyhow, let's see how many versus the Lucci. Let's get rid of that. And let's get rid of that. Yeah, 30. I don't know. My math is crazy. So anyways, you can see right there that these two decks, I'm keeping him in Always a Bridesmaid because to me it's crazy to put him down with to they won with what. But objectively speaking, Purple Luffy, Shanks, I don't know about Boa, but these decks, these 3 decks, and this deck have all won more than that. Boa, I just know, I see Boa. Jewelry Bonnie, I just know is doing well in the West. It's not the worst, but it is an upsetting deck. It runs into decks and it upsets them. So that's where I'm basing that off of. And then we have Smoker, Booby Smoker. And the Booby Smoker, the Booby Smoker wasn't doing anything crazy. Okay, y'all remember we had 30 there, right? And OP10 Smoker takes it to 40. So the Booby Smoker has gotten 10, and that is respectable. Piss Kid has also done very well. And if we look at the Piss Kid, I mean, I'm doing this is kind of redundant, but I'm just continuing to do it for you guys. Let's see. Piss Kid has gotten 13. You know what I mean? So technically Piss Kid is right there. Now, you know, I come from the fighting game world. I've always played card games like since I was a kid, but also, you know, from fighting games, I picked this up from Rooflemonger, where he's like, yo, if you're all in the same tier, then you're on the same tier. If this deck is truly better than this deck, then it should be like that. You see what I'm saying? So what I believe is when I put them in here, they're all within the same tier. I really like that concept. And if you're really better than this, if you're better than everything to the right of you, then they just need to be bumped up. You know what I mean? So anyhow, and again, understand that this is based off of like matchups. If you were to take this to a 10-man tournament and you were to run into 10 different opponents or whatever, you know, when you're dropped in those waters, how are they going to perform? So anyhow, we have that, and we were talking about Gecko Moria before my OCD took me hostage. And the thing about Gecko Moria is if they get rid of Gecko the card, obviously these decks just drop off hard, right? I don't see them banning Gecko. And I'm going to tell you this. My prediction number one. Big prediction number one. Okay, big prediction number one is that they restrict Gecko to just Gecko Moria. I am calling it. I don't have any data. I don't have any he say, she say. I don't have anything. But I'm calling that they make Gecko a Gecko card. And they let these two fend for themselves. I know that's crazy because they're talking about, you know, obviously, you know, starter deck Luffy. That's the poster child. Luffy's the poster child. The poster child is represented. The poster child is absolutely represented. And I think they're done with Lucci doing Lucci things. That's just what I think. I just think that there is a world where they decide to just throw Gecko and then Gecko gets straight into Always a Bridesmaid. You know what I'm saying? Don't know if he'll be the winner, but he will have access to the best card that no one else will have access to. Yeah, because some people have talked about you can't, all right, well, the rule will be you can't use Gecko with Rebecca. And I'm like, that's a weird ass rule. This card can't be used with, you know, I think it's a lot simpler, a lot more cost effective, and a lot of this does come down to dollars and cents. If your Gecko character says, well, maybe we can look it up right here. On play, if your leader is Thriller Barks type, then you may. You know what I'm saying? Then on play, blah, blah, blah. You know what I'm saying? That's what I think would be more powerful. Holy shit, I can't read that. Yeah, on play, if your leader is Thriller Barks, then choose up to one, or 7 Warlords of the Sea. You know what I'm saying? 7 Warlords of the Sea or Thriller Bark Pirates, then you can do this. And guess what? Then it would be very interesting because then you would have Homegirl as well. Where's she at? Well, shit, Perona is Thriller Barks, right? Then you would have Perona typing with one finger like a super boomer. But yeah, then you would have Perona with access to whatchamacallit, access to Gecko, and that would thrust Perona, and we love to thrust Perona. Where that girl at? She here somewhere. There she is. And that, in my opinion, would put Perona, who's never been a terrible leader, into the spotlight as well. So you would be bringing 2 decks up. You would definitely, I don't think Lucci would be quite Copehead, because we've all won games with Lucci without ever seeing Gecko. I think it would be very interesting what we would do as Lucci players to work around that missing piece. However, with Luffy, I do know how Luffy will be built. In my opinion, I do believe that Luffy will be built around a lot of, what were those cards? Let's see. Let's do yellow. Luffy would be built around a bunch of triggers and life putting back. And we would be seeing cards like the Kuzan. We would be seeing cards like possibly that one as well. But Luffy would turn into, it would play more like a Sabo-ish deck. And I've played against people who do that, and it's very impressive, very fun. You stack your deck with that. You turn the cards face down. They're triggering. They're popping everything. When I tell you guys, I was practicing with Dofi, and I went up against a Luffy who was just putting these in their deck and then facing them down. And there was nothing I could do. It got to the point where every time I attacked them with Dofi, it was just, they were just popping everything. You know what I mean? You know, it turns into a pop heavy deck. So it is doable. It is absolutely doable. You might see these getting run. You're definitely going to see these getting run. You know what I mean? But it would change the whole identity of that deck. But in my opinion, it still can survive. I would have to put it into Copeheads, because it's going to take a Copehead to make it work, and then bring it to They Won With What, and then possibly even Always a Bridesmaid. But that's what I think would happen to the space if they would restrict Gecko Moria to Thriller Bark decks or 7 Warlords of the Sea, since that's what the leader is. See what I'm saying? So that's my, big prediction. I don't really have a big prediction for Dofi. My Dofi prediction is that something's going to get tweaked. But I really, if I had to put a prediction, it would be that the whole ass leader gets banned, because that's what they've done in the past. But I really hope they don't. I really hope they don't. So my official number one is this. Now, Gum Gum Giant. Let's get into Gum Gum Giant. Okay, so Gum Gum Giant. Let's talk about Gum Gum Giant's impact on the One Piece world. Okay, so I'm gonna highlight EBO2. I'm gonna highlight 5 Luffy. I'm gonna highlight, and I'm doing this live for you guys. That way you can see how I'm coming to these conclusions, that I'm not just smoking crack cocaine and seeing what sticks. Started 10 Luffy. Who else? We've got Homegirl. OP9, where's she at? Okay, so OP9, Boa. Why do I keep wanting to call her Boa? OP9 Robin isn't even existing. So, yeah. Anyways, let's just talk about the decks that have access to Gum Gum Giant. All of the decks that access Gum Gum Giant combined, tournament results are 6 more than Dofi. 6 more than Dofi. All of these decks, 10, OP5, who's supposed to be crazy, EB2 is supposed to be busted, ban it. It might be getting banned. All of them combined, with their powers combined, are only 6 more entries. Now, these are first and second place, top 4, 8, etc. But 6 more entries than one leader, Dofi. You put Dofi in this bitch, and it jumps to fucking 66. You see what I'm saying? So like, yo, I don't think that Gum Gum Giant is a problem. I think that Gum Gum Giant will. This is what Gum Gum Giant will do. You tweak this, you restrict this, and our leaders are going to look a lot more like this, possibly even this, and like this. I think that'll happen. I think that will happen. And the reason why RP Luffy stays as always bridesmaid is because they cannot ramp automatically. And I know that green purple has to see their cards as well. However, in my experience, I've felt so much more consistency, especially with my latest list that I'll be showing you guys. I've been ramping and doing what I need to do so much more consistently. And you've got to understand that the ramp is built into Purple Luffy 05, and the ramp is also built into this leader. It doesn't technically need to ramp as much as once it gets, if it's on odd or even curb, once it gets to play out its Spud and, you know, other cards, it's cool. And then it starts using its ability, and then we are where we need to be. And also, you could say the same for RP Luffy. It's at 3 life. It's a 6K. And once it gets to 8, we're big city hooping. We're doing all right. You know, I've won games without ramping with Luffy from a card. You know what I mean? Obviously using abilities. But yeah, it would, in my opinion, it would start to look like this. We would start to see different leaders rise up that utilize Gum Gum Giant and or just purple straw hats in general. So I guess if I want to make a prediction, I don't think this gets touched at all. I don't think Purple Luffy, or excuse me, Gum Gum Giant gets touched at all. I don't think a lot of purple gets touched at all. And then don't ever let green purple ever exist in the West. I don't think that's going to happen at all. I don't think that's going to happen at all. There's no way fiscally, financially, you're trying to sell a product to the West, and before it even comes in, this leader is dead on arrival, with its latest performance being a second place to Smoker. Okay, like this lost to this. There's no way that is going to make it a ban worthy, even tweak worthy leader. Because one thing about this leader, in my opinion, if you change one thing about it, I don't think it's going to work. I don't think it's going to work at all. I think as of right now, the reason why I'm so intrigued with it, the reason why I love it, I love this deck, I think it's so much fun, is because it's that glass cannon scenario. It's that high risk, high reward leader, because you're at lower dawn. So having lower dawn means you have no access to your fucking cards, right? But if you learn how to play it right and you master it, you can actually get more characters out on the field than your opponent can at a sooner time. But that does not mean you can't be beaten. I still lose. My toughest time with this deck is against Red Green Law and black decks. Not really them. I got a video for you guys. I roasted fucking Blackbeard just way too fast for him. 6 cost secret Luffy is he can attack twice, and it's just too fast for him. But Lucci and who the hell else? Oh, Smoker. Tough matches, dude. Tough matches. Typically lose unless they shit the bed. And who else do I win unless they shit the bed? I think I was talking about somebody else. You need to be at the bottom. But anyhow, Smoker. I win more against Smoker in my experience. I've won more against Smoker than these two leaders. And also Piss Kid is really tough, a tough matchup. You've got to see your cards and understand what you're doing. It's not an easy feat. But you know, I do feel I've been able to beat Bonnie. Also, you know, yellow triggers are yellow triggers. Sometimes if they don't see what they need, I'll wax that ass. And sometimes I'll barely win with, you know, 0 life on my last Luffy swing against these two. And sometimes they just trigger me into oblivion. But so yeah, none of that says, oh, I'm gonna, you know, versus this deck, I only lose to this. and I'm 50-50 with this, and everything else is just about everything else. You know what I mean? So that's what I'm feeling right now with the ban list. That's where I'm going with ban list. That's how I'm feeling about it. I think that Dofi's got to get touched. He's got to get something has got to happen with Dofi, where we're gonna see what's going on, and we're gonna see that. Yeah, I was just updating just to see. So where his package has got to get touched. Play. And something's gonna happen there. That's an easy. To what degree will they go? Don't know. I really hope they don't ban the leader outright, because I love to see a world where OP1 original, set leaders are still alive and thriving, not just surviving. But yeah, the fact that if you're a Dofi main, you have not had to buy cards and shit. You haven't had to buy cards since 08. Yeah, you didn't have you got the starter deck. Cool. You didn't have to buy any OP09. You don't got to buy any OP10. You don't need any EVO2. That's already 4 products that Bandai is trying to push. That is just like, why? Because why? So that's something that you got to think about. It's cool for players. It really is cool for players to get into the game and buy relatively cheap cards and be able to compete on a world stage, right? But you're 4 sets of just not giving a fuck. You know what I'm saying? So that's crazy. How did I get OP9, OP10, EBO2? How did I get 4? Maybe I had a finger up for OP08. But even OP08, is there anything from OP08? I think there is. There's got to be something from OP08, right? Let's see if there's something from OP08. No. That's EB1. Yeah. Yeah, all you've had to do is buy the starter deck. This is the latest card. It's an EBO1. So you didn't even need to buy OP08. That's crazy. That's crazy. Did you even need to buy OP7? Oh, that's an OP08 card. But there's people who win without it. So anyways, yeah. Oh wait, and then we got the searcher right here. That's OP7. Okay. So yeah, if you're playing Dofi, you haven't had to buy cards for a very long time. And the same can be said about Gecko Moria decks. If we look over here at our, tier list maker, Lucci has been the exact same for a long time, and so has Law. I mean, damn, bro. So has Smoker, not Booby Smoker, regular Smoker, Cigar Smoker. So these are things that's like, hey, yo, you know what I mean? So that's that, and then Gum Gum Giant not getting touched. These not getting touched. Okay, so now let's get to the other part of the video. Okay, so now just as interesting to me in this video is what cards could we see coming back? What cards could become unrestricted, unbanned, okay? So obviously we have the leader Law. What would Law look like if they dropped them back into the meta? I think if they restrict Gecko to Thriller Bark, Annie's Lobby could and should come back for Lucci. That would be great. I don't think that would be so bad, right? Because I mean, they don't have Gecko Moria. I don't know. Is Sakazuki coming back? Will they still be canceled or nah? We know that their current leader is just basura. Like, no way in hell am I using that leader. Same goes for Law. Their leader is like, hey, play this leader and lose every game no matter what. You know what I mean? So Sakazuki doesn't have that. If it don't have access to Gecko Moria, before it had access to Gecko Moria, it was still big city hooping. So that's something to think about. But we would have to. I would need an errata to change one. I think if Sakazuki comes back, it's a 4-life leader, and I think if it gets rushed down, it's obviously going to get beat the hell up, especially against like your purple Luffys or anything that goes wide. EB2 Luffy. I think it would be a top contender. I don't know if it would be as busted and broken. I'd be very interested to see what that match against the Lucci does. I just think that Sakazuki, if it came back, I think that there's a lot of cards with a lot of abilities, a lot of, the power has crept to maybe have caught up to it, but we could see. So why are they bringing it back? Great Eruption. Now that's a card that the Navy would definitely need. That's a card that would definitely need to become unbanned, unrestricted, if they restricted Gecko Moria. Now, Lucci has the Tempest Kick, which is, fine and serves a purpose, serves the same purpose. Actually, also, you can also argue even better, because, Lucci's going to have 10 and trash. So we're already getting to see what a Great Eruption does in this format anyway. So if they have Great Eruption and it actually minuses 3, maybe the Navy or everybody else should deserve to have an actual Great Eruption that just minuses 2, draws you a card. These are thoughts, right? Reject. Yeah, dog. I know we can make it, but like I just giving yellow anything is just like tough. It's tough for me because and the reason why, it's not just I'm a yellow hater, but it's how do we want the game to be played, especially how do we want the game to be played competitively. And yeah, I think if yellow doesn't have a lot of the shenanigans, but they do have reject, I get it. You know what I mean? Yeah, if your opponent has 1 life card, deal 1 damage to your opponent, then add the top card of your life cards to your hand. Cool. You know what I mean? And then you go for the kill. I get it. However, with all of the you can't attack, I get another life, but it actually gives me 2 life because of my leader's ability. Here's another one. They need to take Homeboy. They need to get Enel fixed. I need Enel fixed. I want Enel to say when the number of your life becomes 0, not opponent's turn, once per turn. Okay, add 1 card from top of your deck to the top of your life cards and trash 1. So this doesn't need to be a once per turn, is what I'm saying. This does not need to be a once per turn. This needs to be opponent's turn, and you do that, and then that's it. Like until the start of your next turn. Once per turn until the start of your next turn. Opponent's turn. It would have to read something like that. It would have to read that you cannot use this one, because then you got Luffy, reset Luffy, all the purple reset Luffys would be hooping against Enel, and I think that's how it's supposed to be. Based off the lore. I mean, unless Luffy's here, you know what I'm saying? So come on, let's make it lore correct. Anyhow, so that's that. And then also Moby Dick. Is there a world where Moby Dick can exist in this format? And would that really, if Moby Dick existed, let's take a look at Moby Dick one more time while we look at it. If you have 1 or less life cards, and we know that Whitebeards will have that, your Newgate and all your characters with a type including Whitebeard pirates gain plus 2,000. Holy shnikes. Okay, hang on. Your Edward Newgate, so your leader and everybody get plus 2k. That is fucking bananas. In my mind, I always save this card, and it's a trigger. Play this card. I've always saved this as your characters get plus 2,000. And this is your turn, so it is we're gonna swing for the world. This isn't a defense card, right? This is an offensive card. So you build up that board, and then everybody gets plus 2k for a whopping 2 Dawn. That is nuts. And what would that do for our fearless leader? I think in a world where I know they're not gonna hit pudding, I would be shocked if they hit pudding. I think it would put it into the they won with what, you know what I mean? And rightfully so. I feel like Whitebeard is still somewhat of a contender. Anytime you're a 6 life leader and you're going to see more cards than your opponent, I think you're doing all right. You know what I mean? But in a world where pudding can exist, and other people can go wide and go tall faster than you, I think Whitebeard's going to have trouble in this meta. You know what I mean? But it will absolutely be able to swing crazy into, the 4 life leaders of the game. Speaking of, if we had Sakamazuki Where they went? Where did they go? Can't find them. There they are. I think Sakazuki would easily be here. Easily if they brought him back. Easily be there if they brought him back. And I'll go ahead and tell you that I think the same about Law. I think if they brought Law back, I think it would easily be here. But it wouldn't be, you know, Gecko had a great time in the Law. I remember I beat quite a few Laws with Gecko. You know what I mean? So it's not like it's without weaknesses. You know what I'm saying? But anyhow, I think that they would need to errata some things. But anyhow, that's banned, restricted. And then Kabaji. If you have Mohiji, draw 2 cards, trash 1 card from your hand. Who the hell's Mohiji? Let's look that up. My bad. Okay, so if you have Emoji, that's Emoji. That's Kabaji. That's Emoji. That's Amore. Reveal up to 1 Richie and add it to your hand, then place the rest at the bottom of your deck in any order. Play up to 1 Richie from your hand. Yeah. I mean, this is banned, I guess, because if you have this, you play this, and then you draw 2 and trash 1. I don't know, gang. What do you guys think? You know what I mean? Do you think that this card could exist in this current format? Would it, you know, cause Nami to just upset everything? You know, would Nami just be the best dick in format? You know what I mean? Would it be always bridesmaid? Would it be they won with what? You know what I'm saying? Nami, I feel like Nami is another one. There's another deck, in my opinion, like Enel and Katakuri, where you don't necessarily want these decks to be the creme de la Edgar. You don't want these decks to be up here. Because I don't think that's a game that people want to play personally. I don't think that's a game that anybody outside of Yellow wants to play. I think that turns into Union Arena, which is, despite having access to every other anime other than One Piece at this point, is not doing well. It's not selling well. It's not being played. It's not being sought after. I do have friends that really love Union Arena, but I'm sorry, when you make the game about triggers, you know what I'm saying? It's just like, it changes everything. It changes the game. It makes it Union Arena. So that's why I am not personally interested. And these decks being the premier decks, I think they're fine to be a spice. I think they're fine if they, you know, wind up top 8 or top 16 or something. You know, they get a run, they catch a run. I don't mind that, but I would rather a world where fucking Dofi is up there, because at least Dofi is more of a traditional. We're gonna play cards. We're gonna go wide. We gotta protect our life. You know what I'm saying? Versus this buffoonery we have with Enel. So, anyways, that's my who could be banned, who could be restricted, who could become unrestricted. That is there more over here? Yeah, these are already done. Yeah, these are already brought back. Anyways, that is my official take on what could be done, what could not be done, what may or so, or blah blah blah. And this is my if I had to say what would happen to the tier list, I don't think that Dofi goes anywhere too far if they get rid of Law. I'm telling you right now, if you get rid of Law, Dofi's still gonna fucking hoop. I don't feel like there's been somebody who's just like, oh my god, I could have won if I would have saw my laws. I mean, I saw my Jinbeis and everything else, but I didn't see my laws, so I lost. I don't think that's ever fucking happened. Hell, I don't even think that's happened with Teach. So, you know what I mean? If they're not going to address the meat and potatoes of it, I don't think it's going to happen. Secondly, I think the purple is, right now, I think purple as a whole is under the radar. I know that, you know, EBO2 has got a lot of heat. You know, it's hot right now. But I'm not seeing the performance. The objective performance. No DL, play for free. I'm not seeing the objective performance of EB2. I'm seeing 12 entries, and I'm not saying that's bad. I'm just saying it's a lot of first place. I'm just saying this motherfucker's been riding since 07, basically, or since whatever, since EB2 or since the starter deck. Let's be real, since the starter deck, not whatever before. But this motherfucker's been riding since the starter decks, which is October, November, December, January, February. This motherfucker's been riding for 5 months high. This motherfucker's been riding high for damn near a year now. Let's see. If these just came into, this just is like getting some play. This still isn't into prominence. They did win an event and everybody was hype about it because it was kind of like always a bridesmaid / they won back. Actually, back then, they won with what? They won with what? That's why it was so hype. But if these bans happen, if they start to restrict them, he naturally goes up because he has a tough time into here unless you're going second and you see everything you want to see. And I do think that, you know, anybody who's obviously been oppressed by Dofi would get a bump up. And I can't say that this list would be indicative of what would happen because also if they were to restrict Gecko Moria, I could be sleeping. Maybe these decks are either here or maybe one of them's here. You know what I'm saying? That could very well be the truth. And then these decks falter or they got to figure some things out. You know what I'm saying? If there's a lot of on play here, you know, then maybe Homeboy takes a step up. You know what I'm saying? Because right now I don't feel like they're hooping like they are in the East, at least not in the West. So we'll see at Worlds who's got it figured out. If the West really has it figured out how to beat them, or does the East just know how to play them? So anyways, that's my list. Oh, also, I feel like if you touch Dofi too much, right? If Dofi gets hit too hard, I think that Black Purple Luffy leaves Copeheads. I don't know if it goes into always a bridesmaid, but I have always been able to function with my Black Purple Luffy list, and you guys can go back and watch my Black Purple Luffy list. I had plenty of Black Purple Luffy lists, say that 3 times fast, that did not utilize Gecko Moria, and I didn't see the need, and I actually wanted to not because of all the shit people were talking about Gecko Moria. So if you get rid of Gecko Moria and you keep them away from everybody, I have an easier time against Lucci. I've got an easier time against basically the blacklists that I was already beating. I'm already beating Lucci with Black Purple Luffy fairly often. So I think Black Purple Luffy, especially with the Spud, you know, the Spud being a card is going to be great. It works with it. So if we naturally just get rid of those cards and then we're able to have, you know, proc that ability often and everything, I think Black Purple Luffy definitely could slide into always a bridesmaid because they have that killer purple package and also, of course, Gum Gum Giant. So yeah, there's definitely a world where they can still pop and they can still, you know, ramp, you know, in a really good way. So I think they would jump up. Outside of that, those are my predictions. I haven't played enough with these two leaders to know what they're going to do and what they do against Dofi. So I know that I played a bunch of games against a Piss Kid, and they said they have a hard time against. Blackbeard. So, anyways, before we get into the yapping territory, that's my take on things. I think they're getting touched. I think they're getting restricted, and I don't think anything's happening. And do I think any cards are coming back? I think that it would be very entertaining if some leaders came back, but I doubt that. I doubt that the leaders will come back. But if they did, that'd be crazy. That would be crazy. If they say Sakazuki's back, I think that's crazy. I think it'd be crazy. I don't see why not. Let's be crazy. Let's just do crazy things. Let's be crazy. Let's be chaotic. Let's do it. But anyhow, this has been Murado Music with 3-piece TCG, Big Beard TCG, and I will catch you guys in the next one. Don't forget to smash that like button, finger pop that subscribe, turn on the bell, go down in the comments, and let me know, who do you think's getting hit? Who do you think's getting restricted? Who do you think's being brought back? Very interested in that. So I might even put up a poll for that. But yeah, I'll catch you guys in the next one.
Flows like a faucet, swag dripping like a faucet. Dooney fixing, got Luffy ambition, king of the rappers, the mission. I see they got the lights, camera, but no action. They actually fiction.